everybody.
I'm getting chills. I love that. I just love that movie so much.
It's so good. And I was really contemplating. I was like, okay, what's the best way? I didn't mean to do that. There we go.
Oh.
I was like, what's the better speech? I was like, should I do the Riders of Rohan or should I do Men of the West? I didn't know. And I was like, no, we need Men of the West. That is what we need.
Woohoo!
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Thank you for coming. If you saw, I did a quick 3.5 minute live stream earlier today because this could not be left to stand. This is absolutely what is happening, what Amazon is doing, what they are doing to Lord of the Rings, what they did to Wheel of Time. They are following the exact same steps. Lock, stock, and 2 smoking barrels. It is absolutely devastating to watch because I've already watched them desecrate Wheel of Time in the name of greed, honestly. But what they'll say is inclusivity and diversity, and we need it to be the way that we want the fantasy world to reflect our real one. Who said, what is going through your mind when you think that is in any way, shape, or form what fantasy readers, what genre fans want? What is honest to God going through your mind at that point in time? Because honestly, it's not the fans, it's not the book readers, it's not the book lovers, it's none of that.
They're virtue signaling to their fellow people. They don't give a shite.
And the people that they're trying to virtue signal to are not going to watch their show. They're not going to buy their merch. They're not going to be there. But you know what? Hopefully, most of you won't be there either. I've already said this multiple times because, and I said this yesterday on Miss Martin Muse's channel when we were doing the Fantasy Tavern. I don't have the answer. Because the answer cannot be to simply ignore this. Because Star Wars fans tried that after The Force Awakens, and look what happened. Mm-hmm. So flat out ignoring this stuff isn't going to work. But I don't know what the balance would be. But this is what is being thrust upon us. And this is the amount of sacrilege. First of all, let's go over this. For anyone that doesn't know, these are the Amazon Rings of Power character posters, and they have slapped them onto the book covers. Now, this is Galadriel. If you've seen the trailer, you'll recognize the very dingy Gondorian, Numenorian, whatever armor she's in. I just know it's not Elven. There's no way elves made that, and you will never convince me otherwise. And if someone tries to tell me that is Elven armor, I'm gonna...
No. Yeah, it's
still getting thrown at their head.
Yeah.
But it's just, this is horrifying. First of all, why is Galadriel on Fellowship? She shouldn't really be on any of the covers.
No.
But
why is any of this on the Lord of the Rings? It's like putting the Last Jedi poster onto A New Hope. It makes no sense. And it's just as sacrilegious.
Absolutely. And then, we're sitting over here, you've got who I'm presuming to be Sauron. Now, some people have tried to tell me it's not Sauron. And I'm like, okay, well then, who is it? Because they are clear, this is clearly the similar vein of Sauron. So, if I was nobody, Sauron makes no sense being on Return of the King at all, but anybody else would make even less sense. I mean, none of their posters make any sense to go on these books because their show has nothing to do with the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. There's no correlation outside of the fact that they hijacked Tolkien's work and they prime washed them. And for anybody that doesn't understand what I say what I'm saying when I say prime washing, it's Amazon Prime is taking their crap coverings and they're slathering them on Tolkien's masterpieces and trying to claim them as their own. listen, this is not by accident. They are releasing the show on the day of Tolkien's death, when in less than a month it would be Hobbit's Day. Less than a month later would be Hobbit's Day. And it would have been like these two dates have very strong meanings in the Lord of the Rings and Tolkien fandom. So they decided there's no way that they did not know. There's no way they didn't know the day that Tolkien died. This wasn't like an accidental, we thought it was the week after or the week before. No. You don't spend what was it that they spent total? Like, I've seen so many figures. The last figure I saw, it was like $42 billion. There's no way you're not gonna know that Tolkien died on September 2nd.
Yeah.
There's no way.
Well, watch them come out with something that they're going to pull out of their buttocks and say, "Oh, we're just honoring him because that's how he died. It's like an obituary, and he went to heaven because he believed in heaven," or some sort of crap like that they're going to pull out of their butts.
Then they should have waited till January 3rd, or they should have waited till Hobbit's Day.
Well, no crap.
Like, this is not hard. This is them sending a message. They are making it very, very clear that this is not Tolkien's anymore. This is theirs. This is now Jeff Bezos. This belongs to him. Doesn't matter that September 22nd, 20 days later, would have been a much more hopeful message, would have put some inspiration into fans, would have given them a bit of hope, excitement.
No.
None of that matters to them. They do not care.
They were obsessed probably with the idea of going against the other abomination, the blood of the dragon of the blood, or the House Targaryen.
The House of the Game of Thrones spin-off that I also hope crashes and burns.
Yeah, it deserves it.
I
know. Well, see, this is so wrong on so many different levels, because it just every time I see that thing that's supposed to be Galadriel, that is not Galadriel.
No,
it's and as weird as it sounds, it's almost like how I would feel if someone was trying to play the Blessed Virgin Mary, which is even Tolkien said in the Order of Grace, there's some applicability there, and just dump all over her. I mean,
yeah. That's essentially what they're doing, because look,
yucky.
Galadriel at this point, the age that they have given us, she's already like 2,000 years old. She's full. Her ass is grown. Like, she's not a little girl, but they've made her a little girl.
And isn't she married? She's married by this point.
She's married by yes. She's like the freaking. Oh, God,
I know. I'm starting.
There's so much that they've. First of all, they are taking what spans. We're talking a millennia of timeline, and they are smashing it into a decade, and like a little bit of change. I think it's like 12 years, right?
Yeah.
So you can't, like, it's not gonna work. As you know, Miss Martin, and anybody that's ever watched any of my streams, one of my biggest pet peeves with the Peter Jackson trilogy is how they made it feel like Gandalf was only gone for 2 weeks when he told Frodo to keep the ring secret and keep it safe. They compressed that timeline, and it completely stole the gravitas from the fact that he and Aragorn were trying to find Gollum for a decade and a half. They were looking for him because he had to spend 6 years in the White Tower looking for information on the ring. And so that's one of my biggest pet peeves of the Peter Jackson trilogy. Now, it's still excellently well done. It's still a great trilogy, greatest one ever made, but I still have my nitpicks with it, because that's what fans do. That's what fans do. That's why we're fans. We care. So the fact that a 2-decade time compression irritates me. I now have to deal with thousands of years getting put into, like, how are you going to have Numenor fall at the same time that Sauron betrays Morgoth.
Yeah,
how's that going to work?
Well, or if they're even going to do that. I mean, we still don't know what the plot of this thing is.
No, yeah, that's right. We have no idea. We know that Galadriel hangs off of an ice sheet and she's on a boat.
Raft, and really. She's with a man that's not her husband. And so help me, I've already called it. I'd be willing to bet each of my cats 9 lives. She's going to be having an affair with this guy, and it's going to be Sauron in disguise. That's why they're not showing a Sauron yet.
I think that's
Sauron in human form.
Yep, I think that's I've had my suspicions of that as well. I also think the Harfoot, because that's, I mean, who else could it be, is going to be like Frodo's ancestor. Like, the reason that Frodo is destined to pick up the ring is going to be because of her.
Oh, because it's all about just who's your father is, and not,
It's gonna be all about her.
Everyone's a Skywalker.
Oh my God! If we get I am all the wizards or some cringe dialogue like that, I'm gonna lose my ever-loving crap. I am not looking forward to this show in any way, shape, or form. But Amazon has said, guys, Jeff Bezos has stated that if this show flops, if this show does not work, they will be done with original content.
Here we go, kids. Let's take one for the team. Make it fail.
As I have said, I will be doing an episode by episode breakdown. I am going to be watching this show. I will be doing compare and contrast. I will let you guys know what is up. And if it is good, guys, nobody wants this to be good more than I do. I promise. Like, I desperately want an epic adventure fantasy respecting the lore and Tolkien's vision more than just about anybody. But
it's not going to be because it's not Tolkien's story.
It's not Tolkien's
wrote the story. We know what the story is.
Yeah,
and Tolkien wrote it.
They've said that, like, when you have 2 show writers with no experience saying that they are going to write the novel that Tolkien never could. It's not that he never could. It's that he died while he was writing it.
And the one that he wrote while he was dying, what was published posthumously, they don't have the rights to. That's why they're not doing the novel that Tolkien couldn't write. So I'm reading through the Symbolism like right now on my channel, and I'm just like, it's all here. This is all just so rich. It's here. We have a story.
Yep.
And so they're saying, well, since we don't have that story, let's pretend there's another.
No, they have 120 pages out of the appendices of Return of the King.
Yep.
But they have been circumventing the different copyright. Like, oh God, I hope Warner Brothers and Amazon have to go toe to toe, because I would love to watch the implosion. I would love to watch that happen. But on top of that, so Amazon has been exploiting loopholes, and I'm sure they've been paying people off because they have gotten their hands on stuff that they really shouldn't have their hands on, in my honest to God opinion. But
it's like Satan getting their hands on the Holy Grail.
Kind of. And like what terrifies me is if they keep going, they could technically rewrite these stories.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I think that is an end. They want to rewrite the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. Not just they don't want to just remake it on film and take creative liberties with it. They want to rewrite the books.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, like,
and they have the rights to the book, so they'll do it through their they'll just redo the whole trilogy.
Yeah. So it's getting to the point where, guys, this is literally now or never. It is do or die. You can't sit back on your haunches. You can't be like, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm just going to close my wallet. No, we have to actively let them know how much we loathe this. We can't. Ignoring it isn't going to work. Star Wars fans learn that the hard way. You cannot just ignore this. Because look, this is the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, the Two Towers, Return of the King. Look at this hideous printed. I hate when they do this to books.
Yeah.
A new legend begins. The Rings of Power. No, why is that there? Why do these covers exist? They have nothing to do with the show, And the show has nothing to do with the story. They have constantly stated that. That is why in the credits, it doesn't even. Oh, I don't know if anybody.
Oh yeah, it's not. Well, it's they're trying to destroy. These are our modern day iconoclasts, right? So they're taking our art and they're transforming it. Like instead of like smashing them, they're taking little paintbrushes and changing them. They just start off with just little strokes. So it takes a minute to notice there's something off. And then they get to the point where they just take the big black, white paint, whatever, and just splatter it. That's the equivalent of what they are doing to these beautiful stories. And stories are sacred. I've written many theses on that. I've done a lot of study on fairy tales and what fairy tales mean. They are holy, and I don't mean holy in the same way as like holy as in, you know, yes, God and all that, but they are on a different plane than just normal stories. When you're talking fairy tales or mythos, and Lord of the Rings, it was the novel of the century. And correct me if I'm wrong, didn't they keep trying to like revote because they're like, surely there's another better book, you know, than Tolkien? I remember that. It seemed like there was a bit of a controversy.
Yes.
Everyone kept saying, no, The Lord of the Rings is the masterpiece of the 20th century.
Yep, absolutely. Really quick, Salty Texas for $1.99. Thanks. Says 512 Empire Magazine drops new Trop images. Yeah, I knew those. Yep, those are coming tomorrow. They're supposed to be coming tomorrow. Eric Beck for $5. Thanks for that $1.99, Salty Texas. Eric Beck for $5 says, I hope someone at Amazon compares Reacher versus Trop as a case study of what people want. They're not going to do it. They already know what people want. They don't care. This is all about the virtue signal for them. And to prove it, all right, guys, there's I'm not going to call it Lauderop Trop because that seems fitting. So there's 8 episodes in the season. And for whatever reason, this isn't getting highlighted, but I'm going to say it again because enough people don't seem to realize this. Guys, there's 8 episodes. It says 4 episodes based on the novel by 4 episodes. They don't care. And people are like, oh, it's just 4 and 4. No, that's not. Nope. Oh. It's just a double type. They're only giving credit for 4 episodes because it's otherwise going to be an original Amazon story.
Oh.
I was wondering. And it says based on the novel by J.R.R. Tolkien. That, like,
what novel?
Exactly. They're claiming this and it's not true. Because it's on the appendices from Return of the King, and it's from some of his letters, and it's from some of his notes, some of his notes. Mm-hmm. That's what they're pulling from, and they think that has given them a license to interpret it more liberally.
Yeah,
it's freaking sacrilegious, like just plain and simple. These people do not understand and do not care what Lord of the Rings has, what it's about, what it does for the fandom, but they're finding out really quick that the Lord of the Ring fandom is not going to be messed with. Like, we're not going to just sit here and not say anything. And so this is what I said here. They've given us an opportunity to show them just how much we fully reject what they are doing. They are trying to push their inferior product and desecrating the source material while insulting the author that they are trying to make money off of, guys. They do not care. They don't
and they waited till Christopher Tolkien was dead too. What a bunch of scum.
Because he was holding off on them. They got rid
Shippy.
Guys, I'm not even saying that he consulted by email or anything like that because they booted him before the pandemic ever hit. But they still made him sign an NDA.
I know. And you've got Tom Shippey is probably the greatest living scholar on Tolkien. He actually met Tolkien and
Christopher.
That just says, and of course Christopher. Yeah. I've read a lot of Shippey stuff, and I swear my brain just explodes because it's so academic. But the greatest living scholar on Tolkien right now, they dumped him. That says everything you need to know.
And so we've got some great, like, I'm so happy to see
Oh, yeah.
Father Miller, there you at.
Yay, Father.
But I'm so happy to see this happen, and we'll click on Alasia's. This has gotten ratioed. It needs to get ratioed more. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's showing up for you guys down there. I'll try and blow it up as much as I can, but we're sitting at 294 likes, 325 comments, 288 retweets, combining retweets and quote tweets. And so they're 290. We can do better. I am sitting at, with my quote tweet, I'm sitting at 410 likes. So they have been thoroughly ratioed.
Oh, I see what you say. Yeah. And Steve Kenobi, he had a good one where he's having everyone post the pictures of their non-Rings of Power stupid covers. That one's blown up like you wouldn't believe it. And then he put a thing that had Aragorn, kind of fighting, and he goes, "For John Ronald, today we fight." And it's like, yeah. Oh, you're bringing it up here. Yeah. I mean, it was great. I mean, and people are still, my mentions are still blowing up. Oh, it's his birthday too, by the way.
It is his birthday. Happy birthday, Steve. He's going to hate that we did that because he hates his birthday. But so here's Alasia's bookshelf. For Jordan,
this day we fight. And he's like, for John Ronald.
I love it. Look at this. So he's got his thread going of, I have to do this, by the way. I cannot forget to take a picture. But I literally just got home.
Oh, there's mine. And
there, stupid autocorrect.
Yeah. And that's just a snippet of it. I just went and took a picture of my shelf. Yeah.
But look at this. Look at what look at all of these collections that people have. Nerdrotic, he also he retweeted this, but he also started his thread as well.
Look at the one with the pipe. I loved it.
Yes.
Yeah, the one that our Untamable Mando or whatever. Right?
Yeah, Untamed Mando. Yep, Untamable Life. He did this one like this. It shows how much love there is in the Tolkien community for what Tolkien did. This is one of my favorites. I love this one.
Yes.
There's so much love. There's so much joy abounding from these fans and from these shelves. It's proof that Tolkien transcends superficial.
Yeah, and seeing how worn a lot of these are, and there was one guy who said something like he got it for his birthday when he was a teenager, and he took a picture of he took a picture of the inscription his father did of the Hobbit back in 1995. I mean, these things are treasures. And to go back to what you were saying, like, what should we do? This is a start right now. Show your love, spam the living daylights out of Twitter, your social media, your friends, your family, everyone, your love for your Tolkien collections. Just go for it and go wild. It's okay.
It'll be fine. It's, and the way that we do that, guys, is this. So this is christianbook.com, and they have this beautiful, I mean, like anything by Alan Lee is going to be an absolute, like, just gorgeous work. But here is a hardcover for Lord of the Rings, and you can see Minas Tirith back there. Like the artwork is just utterly gorgeous. But if maybe the hardcovers aren't your thing, then there's so much here. You don't have to. Not only do you not have to buy Amazon's covers, you don't even have to buy from Amazon. Go to your local bookshop and purchase from there. Go to a garage sale. You'd be shocked at what you can find at a garage sale.
Half-price books. I went there today.
Yes.
There was a gazillion of stuff. I was buying other fantasy, but because I was on assignment. Buy the good stuff. Buy the good stuff. Buy the old stuff.
Yeah, this is how you can't just say this on my nostalgic live streams all the time. You can't just shut your wallet to what you don't want. You have to open it in places and give your money elsewhere so that they can clearly see the influx of cash somewhere else and the decrease of cash for them. So I'm putting the link to the Christian Book website in the chat here. There's tons of stuff there, guys. There's a lot of stuff for there's a lot of stuff for like Christians in general. So it's like Finding God in the Hobbit. It's an ebook. So there's tons of stuff.
Joseph Pierce, he's an amazing writer, especially for the Catholicism in it.
Yeah. So like there's tons of other stuff there. You can kind of get an understanding of, Battle for Middle-earth, a theological narrative, Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. And it's a look at, because Tolkien said that, this is a fundamental Catholic work. Yeah. This is something that means a lot to him. His Catholic faith meant a lot to him. And honestly, the idea, like, look at the respect these other authors are giving to the source material, like Walking with Bilbo, an ebook. Look at how beautiful this artwork is. Look at how respectful it is. They're exploring it from a different avenue. They're looking at the theological aspects of it. They're looking at, Walking with Frodo. There's so much of this. Untangling Tolkien, a chronological reference to the Lord of the Rings. You have those kinds of books.
Check out that one there, the defense of, I know that one, the defense of Western civilization.
The Lord of the Rings is a defense of Western civilization. Guys, the reason that they are trying to destroy Tolkien is because of he is a cornerstone of Western civilization, and they're terrified of it. It's because it is everything that they are not. It's not preachy. It's not, it doesn't holler at you. It doesn't discriminate against anybody. This story has been translated into over 30 languages. It's the only book that outsells it is the Bible.
Yeah. And all over the world, it's, some people say, oh, it's a white man's story. It's like, no, everyone all over the world, it's universal. It's a universal work. Yeah.
And they can't, and they're trying to capture it and take it for their own, and it's not going to work. We're not going to let them. And two, they're not talented to pull that. They're not talented enough to pull that off. They simply can't do it. And what's really shocking is, when you start getting into this, like, here's a Lord of the Rings illustrated edition. Being the third part, the Return of the King being the third part. Here's the ebook. Here's another. You've got all these ebooks that you can download. There's so much. There's 8 pages on this website. 2 Towers, Part 2 of Lord of the Rings, hardcover anniversary edition. I mean, this is gorgeous. Look at this. It's breathtaking.
I'll tell you, I'm so mad. I'm almost wanting to buy that Alan Lee one.
Oh yeah,
the one but it's $1,500. That's pretty steep.
Yeah,
oh boy, I don't know. I'm that mad, and I've been redistributing my contributions lately anyway, so maybe I'll put them there.
Maybe
$1,500. I could. Well, I guess think about it. If you put aside, $20 or so every week, maybe get one less Starbucks coffee and stuff. That stuff does add up.
Yep.
It does add up.
Yeah, it does. And guys, like, there's the beauty of this is there's so much history of the Lord of the Rings Part 4. Yeah. But like there is so much here. There is so much available, and whatever your aesthetic, maybe you do like the simpler covers, like, like, this is still breathtaking. It's clear what it is. It's clear what you're getting. It's respectful of Tolkien. It's a beautiful cover, right? Or maybe you like the more whimsical approach. Maybe this is a little bit more your speed. There we go. If it loads, maybe this is a little bit more your speed with the more whimsical, sort of like a scene right out of the book kind of thing. But there's so much available, and it doesn't have to be through Amazon. That's the thing, because I'm not saying that you can't purchase anything off of Amazon. But what I am saying is, if we don't purchase those covers and we purchase other covers, that is going to send a message louder than any of us could possibly hope. I mean, just go whatever you can afford, even if it's just, sending this link out to people for the christianbook.com with the different Lord of the Rings books that are there, or finding a used book sale site, or sending out the address to different used bookstores in major cities, whatever it may be that you can do. I mean, I am honest to God, a nobody. But I care about this. This matters to me. Wheel of Time matters to me. Our stories matter to me because everybody deserves a right to escape. Tolkien said it best.
Yes.
Tolkien said it best. If there was a prisoner of war, would we not expect him to try to escape? It is the same thing with fantasy. We need to go there and take as many people with us as we can.
Amen, sister.
We can't stay there because you need to have a healthy balance between reality and escapism. Because if you live in escapism 24/7,
yeah,
you're going to lose your grasp on reality. You're going to become one of these individuals who is very indecisive and can't handle real situations and can't do things for themselves without it triggering them or, causing them different internal issues or whatever the case may be. But you also can't live in reality 24/7 because you will become miserable and nihilistic and it's sad but true. This world is hard on you. This world is hard on us. Every day there's an expectation, there's a duty, there's something, and you can't always just the reality of human nature. You're not always going to win the day. You're not always going to be able to do what is necessary of you. You're going to fall short because you're human. And by God, when that happens, you better have somewhere for even a moment that you can find solitude and escapism and joy. Because if you don't go out seeking joy, it's not going to come find you.
No,
it's not. It's just not how it works.
Well, where do you think this came from? Of course, we've said that this came from Tolkien's Catholic faith, that it was a Catholic work, but it was something that he started conceiving of when he was in the trenches of World War I, and he didn't write this book, the completed version of The Lord of the Rings, rather, until the 1950s. So we're talking about 40 years, and we're talking pain, misery, suffering, everything. And in his letters, he talks a lot about that, because especially writing to his sons when they're fighting in World War II, and just he understands pain, he understands humanity, and he's not living in the clouds. He's not living in Fantasyland. This is one of the most grounded men that you'll ever find, and it's almost an oxymoron, maybe, that one of the most realistic men that you'll ever read about was also the one that wrote the greatest fantasy work of all time.
Yep. And I think, that's the thing. These people who think that, the no nonsense guys, the really hardworking, nose to the grindstone, basically like your blue collar workers almost. They're like, oh, they don't know how to have fun. They don't know how to imagine. They don't know how to dream. No, they do. They just know what it costs in order to be able to have those dreams. Because dreams are not free, guys. And I'm not talking about your subconscious dreams. I'm talking about the things that you want in life. They come with a price. And those men that get mocked, that get told that they aren't, that they take themselves too seriously. They don't understand what it is to have a dream or to want something or to need something that's bigger than them. That's not what's happening. What's happening is they are actively working towards whatever their goal may be. It could be something as simple as being able to sit on the side of a riverbank and fish with nobody else around except maybe one other person, be it their best friend, their wife. There might be the best friend and wife might be that same person, or it might be the best friend that they've had since they were 5 years old. And that's their dream. They want to work hard enough so that they can just sit and enjoy their fishing spot. It could be that is a dream, guys. That is their escapism. But the cost of it is them working their asses off so that they can have that time. Some people dream of a big giant house that they can have family and friends over in, and they can entertain and they can show off, their family photos, or they can take pictures. That's some other people's dreams. Okay? The thing that people seem to be failing to realize is that the people who seem to be the most grounded and the most realistic and the most real, they are often the biggest dreamers.
Yeah. And that's why you have to dream. And not just something like what Tolkien was able to do, but look at the great classic masterworks of Beethoven, Mozart, Bach, all of those, what they were able to achieve, and the Age of Giants and the Renaissance. I was gonna say we have some super chats in.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure, and I've got some quotes here.
Sweet.
Oh, he's talking about sex. Never mind. We don't need to.
I mean, we could, but I kind of don't. We don't want that anywhere in Lord of the Rings. It doesn't.
No, we don't want it in Lord of the Rings. No, but it's just interesting. This is what Tolkien said in a letter to his son in 1941. He said, "The devil is endlessly ingenious, and sex is his favorite subject."
That would be correct. I would wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah. Now, of course, obviously, Tolkien is not anti-sex. He was married and obviously had some really good marital sex. But what he's talking about everything going the obsession with sex and through the baser and animal instincts. And that's another aspect that we know they're going to go there. We know they're going to go there with this because their little lackeys have spent way too much time starting to lecture us on LGBTQ things. And it's like no one ... And they're like, gays are okay in Lord of the Rings. And we're all, well, from a certain point of view, yeah, but why do you keep bringing this up?
Sorry, Tiny Human decided to crawl up on the bookshelf and it came crashing down.
Oh.
They're fine though. But apparently they thought that they could sneak out of bed and not get caught. Yeah. Story of my life. But anyway.
Yeah. But speaking of which, and that's what we're saying. We're going to get a lot of sex, but not good sex. And probably a lot of Game of Thrones kind of. I'm not saying what kind of sex it's going to be, but this way, it's probably going to be very gross. Very
if they put nastiness in like the very first episode of Wheel of Time. Amazon is not going to keep their hands off of Lord of the Rings when it comes to sex. There's a single mother character in here. From what I understand, a divorced single mother. Why?
Divorce wouldn't have even happened in
Tolkien's mind. Or an unwed single mother, whether she was divorced or it was just an out of wedlock thing. It doesn't really make sense. Like they haven't. Again, the plot details for this are next to none.
Yeah. But you know what I mean by base. It's going to be base. It's going to be raw. It's going to be gross. And there's going to be a lot of nudity. And if I'm wrong, I'll eat my hat. But we know that they have an intimacy coordinator.
They do. They do have an intimacy coordinator. And some people are like, well, they had one on the set of Lord of the Rings for like the scenes between oh my God, now I can't think of her. Liv Tyler. There we go.
They didn't really even have.
No, like the scene where they're on the bridge, because they had to be like really tender, and I was like, guys, they literally they kiss one time, and he has to look adoringly into her eyes. That the intimacy coordinator, like, here's the thing that came out. He was only on set for 2.5 days.
Well, not only that, the whole idea of intimacy coordinator, that's still a relatively new thing. I'm not even sure. Because basically...
It wasn't... His official title wasn't intimacy coordinator. Yeah. It was like... whatever it was. But he was there specifically to help make the scenes between the two of them a little bit more romantic. And then he basically... Essentially, they hired a wedding planner for the wedding scene at the end. Like, that's... And they're trying to say it's the same thing.
No, it's not. They're lying. Because an intimacy coordinator, as everyone knows if they've ever seen Bridgerton, because they made a big fuss about their intimacy coordinator, an intimacy coordinator has to do with basically how they do the sex scenes without Me Tooing all the actors. Mm-hmm. And there's really gross rules about it, too, that I most certainly won't go into the details, but you can imagine about, how they can do what they do without necessarily making it porn. And it's gross.
Even though Wheel of Time was basically softcore. Like, honestly,
Outlander has it too. It's
I've not seen Outlander.
Yeah, well, but the same idea. They have intimacy coordinators because, in other words, if they're trying to tell you that an intimacy coordinator is the same thing as what they might have done, like with Aragorn, it's like, no, they're lying and they're gaslighting you. It's for sex, and it's for graphic sex, And again, it's to make sure that no one's getting graped accidentally on there, because that's how graphic and raw and rough it is. It's really disgusting.
I agree. On that note, Lady Tario for hello, Lady T, for $5. Thank you so much. Says, this is an outrage, a desecration of the books, and a great man. Absolutely. This is their attempt to take over and rewrite Tolkien's legacy and his work and claim it as their own when they did none of the work. They are hacks. They are vandals, and they're thieves. It's plain and simple. And people are like, well, they paid for it. Like I said earlier in my little 3.5 minute deal earlier today when the news broke, simply because you pay for something does not mean that you can do whatever you want with it. And nor does it technically make it yours. You can't buy the rights to Lord of the Rings and say, I wrote these, because you didn't. You're lying. You purchased the rights to them, and you can publish them if you want to, but they're not yours, and you didn't write them. They don't belong to you. This is the problem. Like, when it comes to art, I don't even, I feel so bad for artists. Like, the thing is,
just give up. Don't be an artist.
There's so much stolen art in this world, and I'm not even talking about like Nazi era. I'm talking in recent day. Like, there's art from 1985 that's being stolen and hawked and all of these things. But then you have like classic works where they're worth millions of dollars and they get sold on the black market, and then they just tell people, they're like, oh, it's just what is that called? Not a copy.
Replica?
I think so. Whatever it's called. It's not, the word escapes me. I know it starts with an R. But, in reality, they got the real one sitting on their wall, even though it really should go to a museum or back to the family or whatever the case may be. But I can't sit here and pretend to be a moral arbiter. It's not my duty to make you do the right thing, but I am going to do everything possible to help you make the right decision. But it is ultimately going to fall on your shoulders. So, again, if you think that that these covers are something that you want, and you think that they're just absolutely breathtaking, and they tell, they're a fresh breath of air for a story that has been around for the better part of a century, I mean, go ahead. It's your money to do with what you will. But I am telling you that there are alternatives out there. The story is going to be much richer, and the covers are going to be much more beautiful, and they're actually going to be they're actually going to relate to the story within its cover. And everybody's like, well, you can't judge a book by its cover. Well, then what is Amazon doing?
Yeah, well, they're just trying to put their little stamp on top of it.
Literally.
I was thinking when you were saying about a work of art like the Mona Lisa, let's just say somehow I get enough money to buy it even though it's priceless. And I take the Mona Lisa and I decide to, just stomp all over it while I'm singing, hopscotching or something. Yes, it was mine. I would have every right to do that. But every person of goodwill and love of beauty around the planet would be like, how dare you? This isn't yours to do with, even though I spent the money on it. And the fact is, would you stamp these things? Would you, I don't, who's, okay, Andy Warhol. Nothing against Andy Warhol, but his little can thing, Campbell Snoop thing. Let's just say for fun, I bought the Mona Lisa and I decide to just take the Campbell Soup thing and stick it onto the Mona Lisa. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
It's
and
no
sense.
It
devalues.
Yeah. And you can't see sorry, my stupid internet. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, and then you can't see the Mona Lisa because it's covered up with all the soup cans. But then again, the soup can thing actually, I guess, had some artistic value. This is people's hands. I mean, for crying out loud.
These are guys, these, and I'm not saying photography is not art. Do not mistake me when I say that. But these are not in good faith, and these are not in the spirit of Tolkien. These are not in the spirit of Lord of the Rings. This isn't a goodwill gesture. No. This is to literally attempt to overtake Tolkien's work and pass it off as their own.
Yeah.
That it is as simple as that. They are attempting to push Tolkien as far out of the way as they possibly can to give him any credit. And they're like, well, his name is still on the book. Here's the thing. I've said that Miss Martin has heard me say this before. They're going to use the notoriety of the author, and then as they get further and further down the line, the author's name is going to get smaller and the title is going to get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
That's simply what they're going to use the notoriety until they have a footing. And then once they feel they have their footing, whether they genuinely do or not, doesn't matter. They're going to go from there. They're going to shrink the author's name, or it's only going to be on the spine of the book, not on the front cover of the book. And then it's going to get smaller and smaller until it says, instead of it being J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, it's going to be The Fellowship of the Ring. And then on the spine, in very small print, it's going to say, inspired by J.R.R. Tolkien. Or something of that nature.
Or they'll even call all of them the Rings of Power.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because the Lord of the Rings has the Rings of Power.
It's the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, the Fellowship of the Ring. My God, that's a lot of ring in one. That's ridiculous. Oh my God. I don't know who named that series, but they should be put up against the wall.
Well, I think that they did that because they wanted to hijack the title Lord of the Rings within their title.
Well, no, they did, but it doesn't even roll off the tongue. The Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power is actually very difficult to say. So then they thought they'd be cute with one of their own hashtags and be like Lotterop. And then I'm like, no, that also, it's Trop. It's just Trop. We're going to cut you down to where you belong. Lord of the Rings does not belong anywhere in your title. Plain and simple. But guys, again, if these covers, if you're like, oh my gosh, those are beautiful, I need them, I want them, I'm going to go get the pre-order, I can't stop you. I can't. It's not within my power to do so. But I'm going to ask you to listen to me when I say, if you are genuinely disappointed in what you are seeing in this world, if you are genuinely disappointed by the entertainment, if you're genuinely disappointed by being bashed over the head and name called and told that your opinion doesn't matter, that you need to shut up and accept this, that you need to buy and consume. If you are genuinely sick of that, then you need to do something about it. And a really good step to that is to not purchase these covers and purchase better covers elsewhere. I'll drop that link for the Christian bookstore in the chat again, because guys, they have so much here. There's so much here.
Yeah.
There's it's an incredible, the Atlas of Middle Earth. There's
I have that one.
There's so much that you can enjoy. There's so much to love.
And speaking of which, now's the time to get all the physical media you can.
Absolutely.
Before they get rid of it.
Appendicize it, and then from the appendices, they refill it out, but they rewrite it because they have the rights.
Yeah, and it'll start with a sentence or two. It'll start with a paragraph, then it'll be a chapter. The next thing you know, they're going to be rewriting it. And if you don't have the physical media, you won't be able to see what they're doing.
Yep. And Vic Rattlehead in for, I have no idea what currency that is, but for 40, whatever that is, he's got the right gatekeep like hell. Yes.
Darn right.
This story is for everybody. But when people are like, well, you have to respect me disrespecting Tolkien. No, I don't.
No.
I do not have to sit here and be respectful of you being disrespectful towards the author, towards the story, towards the fan base. That's a lie. Do not buy into that crap. You do not have to respect someone being disrespectful of you, being disrespectful of what you love. This would be no different than someone showing up to your house and kicking a hole in your wall and saying, well, you have to be respectful of my outburst. No, I don't. This is my home, and you just wrecked it. You're going to fix that shit.
Yeah, exactly. And think about the whole Pearl of Great Price saying, look at the crown jewels. They have them behind a big glass. They treat them, they're precious. Oh, speaking of which, sorry about that. Bell just went off. Beauty and the Beast. The precious, certain as the sun rising in the east. When you have something that's precious, you guard it. Well, look at Gollum. You know, he maybe took it a little too far, but
just a tish.
Sometimes people think gatekeeping's wrong. It's like, it's not gatekeeping if you're protecting what's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you're trying to conserve and respect what is there, you are not in the wrong. I don't care what names they call. Sticks and stones, people. If they are calling you names that you know to be false, don't let the name calling bother you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid of it.
I've called them out because they're being prejudiced, but they're being bigoted. They're being all sorts of bigoted and ist and obe and phobed. It's not us. It's like we used to say when you were kids in the playground. I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah,
that's what they're doing. They're calling us the names that are actually describing themselves.
I know. I'm about to just literally be like, I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. That's kind of where I'm at. That's literally where I am at.
Yeah, but don't let, and I like what you said, though. Don't let them intimidate you because they try. This has worked, though. This has worked.
Yes.
And we were too nice. We were too nice. And I'm not just talking about this stuff here. We were too nice that we were like, oh, don't call me a racist. Don't call me a sexist. Don't call me a this. I'm really a nice progressive. I'm a nice person. I'm not a racist. Look at me. Look how nice I am. Instead of getting right back in their face and say, ever call me that again, you liar.
Right? We didn't stand up for it. I hate... This is one of my biggest pet peeves was you have all these people who are like, I don't start a fight, but I sure know how to end one. Really? Because we've been getting our asses kicked for the better part of 2 decades right now. Like this stuff has started creeping in. The 90s.
It started in the 90s. They started slowly, and they admitted that they did it on purpose. They started in with the sitcoms.
Yep. And because comedy is a great, because when people are laughing and having a good time, their guard is down.
Mm-hmm.
All of this was calculated, guys. All of it. And
think about it. When people would come in to conquer nations, what would they take? They would take their religion, they would take their art, their statues, their songs, their language. Yep. Right? That's what you do when you want to conquer a people. Yep. That's what they've done.
That's what they've done. It's exactly what they've done. They are trying to dismantle Western civilization through what they know are cornerstones of it. But here's the thing. They thought Lord of the Rings fans were going to just roll over. I'm sorry to say I was one of them. I was simply when I went to see The Force Awakens, I had so much anticipation and so much excitement. And then I watched it and I had bile in my mouth. I was so disgusted by everything that I just saw. Between just the hollowness of it, the way they did Finn, Rey being just this insufferable prick.
Well, the worst part for me was what they did to Han and Leia.
Oh, yeah. No, just in the first 15 minutes, I was utterly disgusted and I almost wanted to walk out. And I'm like, maybe they can redeem themselves. I should have known better.
Yeah, and then because we were dumb enough to believe they had goodwill in them.
Yep. And then Han and Leia were divorced and distant and separate, and their son had turned to the dark side, and so they couldn't that whole nihilistic. Hollywood doesn't know what a happily married couple, a healthy married couple looks like, so they couldn't possibly have that in their story. So they just destroyed it, and then they killed Han for no reason. It made zero sense. They just flat out wanted him dead. I was so disgusted. I didn't go see Last Jedi. I didn't go see whatever the friggin' Skywalker, Ray Palpatine movie. I didn't go watch it. I watched Mandalorian and I got so excited when I saw Luke at the end because I was like, oh my god, this is literally all we wanted. And then they just crapped on us after that. They were like, oh, did you like that? Just kidding. We're going to pull the rug out from under you because it's not what you think. and we're using it to set you up. And I fell for it. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I was so excited to see Luke like wielding his saber and crushing all of these droids. Like I was just like, yes, I love this. And then like you take a step back and you're like, hang on, it's really like they gave us 3 minutes of Luke, and that's it.
But after they had already crapped all over him, I mean, by that point, I wasn't fooled.
And so I was like, oh man, like by that, and then I sort of came out of the haze, and I was like, my God, you know, because I even said on Twitter, I was like, this is as like if this is their redemption arc, I was like, because I got to be clear, Luke doesn't need one, Disney does after what they did, and nope, they ran fast and far over that cliff. And
it's like Denethor in Return of the King in the movie.
Abso-freaking-lutely.
Set on fire.
And the thing is, you know, I wasn't the only one that walked away after The Force Awakens. The Last Jedi didn't make near as much money as TFA, and the Rey Palpatine movie didn't make as much money as the previous two either. Like it made less. It went consecutively down, which should not have happened. So that means that there were tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of us that just silently withdrew our support, and it didn't work because this stuff is still happening. It's not enough to just silently and passively withdraw support. And I'm not talking like, I know everybody's busy. I know everybody has lives. I know that you don't have the time or the energy or the inclination, maybe because it's not stuff that you really genuinely care about that has had this stuff happen to it yet. But the idea that I know people are busy. I know that you're working paycheck to paycheck and you're exhausted and you're just like, that's what they've done, guys. They've taken away our escapism. So we're emotionally and mentally and spiritually exhausted. And then to top it off, they've made reality freaking insane. It's exhausting to deal with it. And you've got nowhere to turn. You've got nowhere to go. I get it. I've been there. But at some point, no matter how tired you are, you're still going to have to get up and do something because it's not going to change otherwise. There's no other way around it.
And for the love of everything, you know, this is very hard to say because I don't want to quite be judgmental, but I got a little bit of the finger of judgment. I got a pedal of judgment going out here. Stop being fooled, people. How many times can you be fooled? I mean, you're like Lucy when she would hold the football and Charlie Brown would sit there, say she's going to pull the football away, and she would sit and talk to him and sweet talk him, and he would think about it, and then he'd go, well, maybe this, maybe that. And then, of course, she'd yank it away from him. Quit being friggin' Charlie Brown. My gosh, people. Okay, my pedal of judgment is coming back in.
And it's fine. It's like I wouldn't even really call that I wouldn't even really call
naivety.
That a pedal of
it's not a crime to be naive. It's not a crime to be hopeful. But oh my gosh.
Fool me once, shame. There's a reason the saying is fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
But you see, there is one thing that you can do, Lady Gravemaster, and that's what I was saying earlier, is just keep sharing the love out of what is beautiful. Because one thing that as a musician has been part of my commission, everyone always says, parents will always tell me, research is always asked, how do you get kids to appreciate good music and not enjoy trash? And I always say, expose them to good music from the moment they're in the womb. And good music even includes those old rhymes, those old London Bridges, all of those. That's actually great music. That's the equivalent of a Mozart symphony for a 5-year-old. Okay. Yeah. Expose them to great music, and they will notice the trash for what it is. The same thing with this. So keep spamming. Even as we're talking, I've seen a whole bunch of people tagging me, and I think you too. And underneath these threads, people are starting to put more pictures. A lot of people in the chat, they've been doing that. Keep it up. Keep the beauty. Shout it from the housetops, And
guys,
I sometimes get frustrated because I know, I've got a very small YouTube channel. compared to others, but I'm thinking, well, how about if all of us, a whole bunch of small YouTube channels, it doesn't matter, have 10 subs, have 600 subs, whatever it is, get out there and talk about beauty.
Yeah, guys, there's like these people, what you're dealing with are hacks, but because what they know and what they have attempted to conceal from all of us is that they will never be as good as, because they don't want to try, they don't want to put in the effort. It's not even that they are incapable of doing it. It is that they want all the fame, they want all the notoriety, they want all of the perks, and they don't want to do any of the work. That's why Amazon just slapped their covers on Tolkien's books, because that was the fast, easy, cheap, simple way for them to prime wash Tolkien's story and start to have people identify it as an Amazon product rather than the greatest fantasy story ever told and the foundation of modern fantasy and a cornerstone of Western civilization. They are trying to corrode and corrupt it. Do not let them do it. Fight back. Cherish the beauty. Create things. These people cannot create. They are incapable of it. I don't care if it's music, if it's painting, if it's drawing, if it's writing, if it's poetry, if it's monologuing. I don't care. Everybody has a talent. I don't care if your talent is smoking meat for 36 hours and making it fall off the bone and it's absolutely delicious. That's still creating. If you think that it's culinary arts for a reason, cooking is an art. And if you can do it well, oh my God, the world will open up to you in ways you could never imagine.
Yeah, the aromas, spices.
Exactly. The mixture of different tastes and spices and textures and food, the way you can pair certain dairies with certain fruits, or certain vegetables with certain meats, or certain wines with certain breads, whatever it may be. You have that talent. It could be glass blowing, it could be woodworking, it could be welding, it could be metalwork, it could be sculpture, whatever, architecture. Just create something. Find that spark inside of you. Like, you don't even have to be good at it. There's that other misconception. If you love something, you are going to put your effort into it. It doesn't matter if you're a makeup artist, if you're a hairstylist, if you are a woodworker, if you do signs, if your thing is simply just making people smile through laughter. I mean, there's so much out there that you can do.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, if we want to be literal, I'm a crocheter, and
there you go.
Alasia, she's a knitter.
Yep.
And oh my gosh, who's the other crocheter around? She's been doing like little Aragorns. The Geeky Crochet. I had her on my channel. Yeah. Geeky Crochet. She's been making, and I've been making little dolls. Though my last big one was a face hugger, but it was a work of art. All right. and I'm making a Guybrush Threepwood. I have patterns for an Eowyn I want to make because I love Eowyn. Go ahead and do that. Grandma, she knew how to do all that stuff. If you still have someone around that you love, learn how to knit, learn how to crochet, learn how to embroider. And yes, I know those are kind of
quilting, pointing, gardening. Yeah, you can do gardening. I love gardening. I absolutely love being in my garden. I love quilting. I love sewing. I love doing all of those things. But I mean, even if it's like, if athletics is your thing, run as fast as you possibly can, lift as much as you're possibly able, freaking climb as high as you can, swim as fast as you could, as faster than you think you could. Hey, Brogram, thanks for coming by. I appreciate it. Godspeed to you too. But there's so much out there. And anything is going to take time to become proficient in, and then it's going to take even longer to become exceptional in it. It's not going to happen overnight. This idea that you're going to simply pick up a hobby and love it and be naturally, like, prophetically friggin' outstandingly good at it are slim to none. Proteges are proteges for a reason.
Exactly. And not only, it's very, very rare. And not only that, even proteges practiced the living daylight. They work. I mean, people, Mozart, he was a myth. Look at this kid. He's traveling all over. It's like, yes, he really was touched by God. What can I say? He really was.
He was.
He also practiced from the moment he was born.
Yo-Yo Ma on the cello.
Raw talent is there, but it has to be cultivated. It has to be practiced. I started playing my instrument at the age of 4. And so sometimes people say, well, how long did you take to get this good? I'm like 40 years and I'm still working. It's like you will never reach the pinnacle of that with art. And another thing I was thinking about creating, I wanted to think of something guy-like. I see dudes that make replica medieval leather things.
Yeah, leatherwork, woodwork, metalwork,
and fighting stuff and swords and I don't know much about armor, and then they go out and hang out in the woods and spend the night in the woods. Do it.
It's needed, it's necessary. And the thing is, guys, I'm gonna tell you what I was told. My basketball coach from 7th grade said this, and it has stuck with me through my entire life ever since. And it is literally, hard work without talent will beat talent without hard work every time. So you might be talented, but if you're not willing to put in the work, you're not going to go anywhere, and you're going to come off as a spoiled, self-centered, arrogant little brat.
And I can tell you what, being in the professional music world, they don't get the jobs. They would far rather have someone that might be slightly less talented, but that's reliable and that you can work with, than have someone that with raw talent that's a pain in the ass.
And I think that's true of just about anybody.
Yeah. I mean, and I can tell you, I used to cast shows and stuff, and attitude would be a big part of it. Because it's hey, we don't have time. We don't have time to deal with someone with a bad attitude.
Tuscan Bob, yes, that isn't actually the point that we're trying to make. What we're saying is to not purchase the covers, period. It's not that you can't buy from HarperCollins. I'm saying that not only do you not need to purchase Amazon's trop covers that they have put onto the original Lord of the Rings trilogy, you don't even have to buy beautifully done cover artwork books, Lord of the Rings trilogy books, from Amazon. You don't even have to support them at all. But what we're getting at is simply not purchasing the covers.
Yeah, because the covers are Amazon. It's the Amazon covers on these books.
Yes.
And it's garbage.
So that is the point that we're trying to make. Again, like I said, that's why I said I'm not. If those covers are something that you like and you actually want to purchase them, I can't stop you. That's not within my power. And that's not my goal here. My goal is to simply show you that not only am I saying you don't have to purchase those covers, here are alternatives for you that are more beautiful and respect Tolkien and the story and the lore and the fandom. That's what I'm getting at. Yes, they're breathtaking.
And that's also, I mean, just in general, you've talked a lot about how the art of covers has just gone to hell. The whole joke, I think someone said it earlier about, at least it's not a key. Yeah, the covers are now all black, and it has a key or an apple or a
friggin' chess piece or
chess piece. Yes.
In the case of these new Amazon covers, because it's a staff, and I'm still going to count it as a sword. It's a sword. There's swords it's just a sword on the cover. And I'm like, what? And then what does that have to do with anything? Because it's not even Aragorn's sword.
No.
It's not even his sword. So why in God's name or Tolkien's would I go and purchase these covers that are low effort? And again, I'm not saying photography is not art. I have seen photographers do things that I could only dream of doing. I have no idea the techniques. Again, if I really wanted to get into photography and I worked at it and I was consistent with it, I mean, I'm sure
marvelous.
Yeah, photography is most definitely a form of art, but it is also being exploited here because these are just posters that they slapped on their book on Tolkien's book covers. That's all that they did. They didn't even create new graphics that would somehow tie their show with the Lord of the Rings books. They simply took their character posters and slapped them on the covers of the books.
They took their fan fiction and put it over a masterpiece.
Exactly.
And symbolism means things. That's another thing.
Sometimes especially in fantasy.
Well, yeah, in art, but sometimes people try to gaslight. It's like, well, it's just a symbol. It's just a symbol. Symbols mean things. That's why when we were all hanging out in caves, one of the first things people did was start to draw and have symbols and totems and all that kind of stuff. And that's why, like I told you, when people wanted to go in and conquer people, what did they do? They went straight for what was holy to those people.
Yep.
Without fail.
Like, look at this. This is a symbol, guys. This is their brand. They are stamping their brand onto the book, onto Tolkien's story. They are branding it. That's a brand. That's a symbol. So you can't sit there and say it doesn't mean anything. None of these are Aragorn's sword. We have a dagger. It's not. We don't even have Sting. Like, Sting's not one of these things. I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of this minimalistic, nihilistic, postmodern BS. I swear to God, I'm gonna write like 80 books just so I can have beautiful cover art. The stories might be absolutely convoluted and terrible, but by God, they're gonna look fantastic and have direct relation to the story inside. I am so sick of this crap. Like, stop putting swords or fruit or chess pieces on your covers. Everything looks the same. It all looks the same. I'm so sick of it. And I will tell you the same thing that my grandfather told me when I was 8. See, very wise men in my life whose advice I took. Because as my mother said, life is too short to make every mistake yourself. You have to learn from others.
Yep.
And what my grandpa used to still tells me to this day, I'm so happy he's still alive. I love him so freaking much. Huh. Totally forgot where I was going with that. But my grandpa literally would say, you're not going to get anywhere and you're never going to be remembered for doing the exact same thing that everybody else is doing.
Darn right.
That's what it is. And all we have seen is regurgitation upon regurgitation upon regurgitation of the same crap. And I'm done with it. I'm so over it.
Yeah, and here's perhaps another analogy. You got a picture of someone that's precious to you, your beloved, your husband, boyfriend. And it's like, or in worst case scenario, it's someone who has passed away, that you lost very tragically. And then somebody goes and takes a picture of another dude and just plops it right on front of him. Or and it's just like, no, that's not my beloved. Why are you doing this, my beloved? It's like, well, I think this guy's hotter than the guy that was your beloved. And I'm like, you know what I mean? You're
go take a long walk off a short cliff.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean? But you're taking something that's holy to a person. And remember, things that are holy, it's a very personal thing. I get so sick when people say, well, is it really such a big deal? It's like, well, maybe it's not important to you, but just because something's not important to you, that doesn't mean it's not important to me. And think about someone you love, or I don't know, an heirloom that a family member gave you, and someone just decides to paint over it and put their stamp on it. It hurts. And I mean, we've seen that happen a little bit. Some of the stupid stuff that happened in the 70s, where people are like, oh, this art, these churches are too pretentious, so we're just going to go in and paint over the paintings. That actually happened in many churches, especially in America. And these were paintings and statues and things that were made by like the immigrants from, the people coming over from Ireland from the famine. And they wanted to give back to the church for helping them. And the only thing they could do was use their skill and their art and their love to paint things or to decorate a chapel or to build a chapel. And then when they came in the 70s and tore them apart, it broke people's heart. People were devastated. it's like, oh, look at that. You see, I like that cover, even though let's see, which one is that? I don't know.
This one is
there's many that are recognizable. That's the other thing. The fact that we can recognize the different covers.
Yeah, it's the Random House cover when they did their publishing run. They went with a little bit more of a, like, I don't know that that's so much whimsical as it is. It's more like it's more like a symbolic type deal. But there's Alan Lee. The thing is too, like when you see Alan Lee's work, you just know that it's Alan Lee. It's just so good.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would not want something like, look at how breathtaking that is.
Yeah.
This just incredible. Care, detail, skill, passion went into this. I can't understand why you would want something as disrespectful and hollow as the Amazon book covers, because they don't make any sense.
Well, of course they don't. Well, again, it's just iconoclasm. It's graffiti. It's vandalism. Sorry, because graffiti can actually sometimes be beautiful, but no, it's just vandalism.
And they don't.
I'm thinking of all sorts of analogies. Imagine your wedding dress.
And the thing is that they've tried to diminish what all of those traditional cornerstones of Western civilization and mythology and all of that mean. They've attempted to they have attempted to try and get people to think that, oh, well, weddings don't actually matter. A wedding dress being passed down doesn't actually matter. There's so much that they have attempted to diminish because they can't compete with it. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I said it yesterday on the Fantasy Tavern as well. But if you have to pull somebody down in order for you to shine or be recognized, you're 1, not a good person, 2, nowhere near as talented as you think you are, and 3, don't deserve any kind of accolades that you get, because it wasn't through the merits of your own hard work and talent that you got there. It was through the desecration of someone else.
Yeah. It's interesting. And I've told you before that I am not planning to watch this show at all. That part of the reason why is because I don't want these images in my head that they're going to be doing, because you know how if you see something with the eye, it does kind of burn in there. Very similar to like with Luke Skywalker. I wish I'd never seen that milk scene. You just can't get it out of your head, and it's the same way with this. And that's my personal choice. I know you said you're going to watch and review it, but I just won't be able to do it, and I can't. My soul will not be able to handle that. I've had enough grief, and enough of things that are beautiful and precious to me taken away or destroyed. And this is the one thing that I'm like, no, I'm just not going to do it. I will be morally supporting people doing compare and contrast videos or things like that. But I'm just really trying to fill up with the beauty, because after a while, when you see so much ugliness, it can start to kind of weigh on you,
Yep. It's true. And I totally respect it. I mean, I get it. I don't, like I've said, my goal, guys, I'm going to let you know this right now. I've said it before, but I'm going to repeat it because I'm not making any secrets of it. My goal for Trop, essentially, why I'm going to be doing compare and contrast and going over things like watching the show, is because if it is bad, which I have every indication that it is going to be a dumpster trash fire, in an inferno of Sharknado. I have no idea. It's just going to be absolute. It is going to be a proportion of bad that I don't even think has a measurable scale.
There's a reason that they are hiding stuff from us.
There's a reason that we still do not know anything about this show outside of their very diverse casting and their very diverse original Amazon characters. Okay? So there's a reason for it. And the backlash has to be hard. It has to be, if this is as bad as I am anticipating it to be, even if it's only a 10th of that, it's going to be horrific. And if it is, my goal is to get just 2 people to watch the stream and make the decision not to watch the Amazon show. If I can just get 2 people, just 2, to not watch Amazon's Trop, then I've done my duty. I don't, my goal is not to reach tens of millions of people and try to influence their decision making or try to tell them what to do or tell them what to watch. My goal is to literally just speak basically to 2 people and tell them that this is not worth your time, this is not worth your money, and yes, I'm asking you to take me at my word, but here is the evidence that I have laid at your feet for you to understand why I am making the statements that I am. And if even 2 people who were considering watching it, decide not to, then I've done what I have set out to do. It might seem small, but if every person that sees this can prevent 2 people from watching it, that is going to have a huge wave of an effect.
And not only that, by showing people what's wrong with it and why it's wrong, because you know how sometimes people will watch something and they know it's off, but they can't put the words to it. It's the same way that with beauty, when something's desecrated, and people can't necessarily put into words, but then say maybe you can put into words and say like, well, why this is the case, then people will also gain a more discerning eye.
Yes. And they'll be aware that it's still there and that there's still work to do.
And maybe even inspire someone to create something good. I've more hope about independent creations than I have in quite a long time. And that's because of the Daily Wire, because they're the people that have actually money to make an impact. The fact that they're starting to make original content, it's been a little rough, some of their stuff, but it's going to be rough as they start with the budgets. But we're seeing more and more original content coming up and alternative things. You even see it with some of the Star Wars fan films. There are some beautiful Star Wars fan films.
Yes.
And there's basically people just taking their cameras and filming themselves out in their backyard, and there's more beautiful than some of that. So,
No, absolutely. I think that it's this isn't going to stop with just one of us saying something or doing something. This isn't going to stop with just one of us, going against the grain. This is going to have to be a concerted effort. And it's going to have to be, like I said, you can't just not watch Amazon's Trop. You need to go find other stories to watch. There's so much. That's what Nostalgic Nirvana is why I do it. That's why you have been covering books. That's why Steve's been covering books. That's why we do the Fantasy Tavern. That's why we have the movies. And there's so much out there, guys. We have so much cinema and so much music and so many books. Just because it didn't get published in 2014 or later doesn't mean that it's outdated or that it's boring or that you're not going to be able to understand it. I would love to know how many of you have actually read A Tale of Two Cities. It's one of my favorite books.
Oh, well, hell yes. I read all of them.
Like, how many of you have actually read A Tale of Two Cities? How many of you have actually read, if romance is your thing, how many of you have read Pride and Prejudice or Emma or
I've read them all, but yeah.
Like, yes,
but I'm a weirdo.
No, not at all. That doesn't make you weird. What I'm saying is, there's something out there for you. And it could, and you have no idea what could possibly be waiting for you if you don't go look. And if you're stuck in this idea of you need it to be brought to you rather than going out and seeking it yourself, you are in for a miserable time, because you are actively missing out. You're actively missing out on the beauty and the joy and the adventure that already exists.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I've been introduced to lately has been the books by Raymond Feist. I'd never even heard of him. And for my birthday, actually, I got that from himself. And because he kept saying, you got to read this. You got to read this. I'm like, yeah, I've never even heard of it. It's like, it's such a good book. And I can't get enough of this. And also I'm starting to get the Dragonlance. I'm about to start into those, and Forgotten Realms. I'm learning about D&D, real D&D. And even that's got some seriously deep lore. And if you're not sure, check out a lot of these accounts, because frequently Stieg will do this. We'll say, hey, what's your 4 favorite nostalgia thing from when you were growing up, or your 4 favorite comic?
No, Stieg asks impossible questions and then demands answers, and it's just not right. What are your 4 favorite comics from going? I can't answer that. Yeah, you can. No, that's not fair. Like, there's more than 4. Well, you got to pick 4. I don't want to pick 4. I want to pick 4,000. Like, that's the thing. Yeah.
Well, but the point is, and there,
yes,
he's terrible that way. But on the other hand, just by looking through those threads, each person putting in 4 different things, you sometimes just on one given day you can find 100 things. And I've been posting all the new books that I've been reading as well. I'm seeing Soul Assassin saying he wants to read the Odyssey. Hell yes. Hell yes. And when I say I'm a weirdo, you see, I was one of those weirdos that used to spend my lunch break or lunchtime at school reading a book. I'd go to the library and read, or before school I'd read. I'd carry books in my book backpack. But I read the Odyssey. I think the Iliad the Iliad was a different ballgame, but Odyssey's great. And of course, all the Jane Austens, chick flicks, Jane Eyre.
Brian Jacques, guys, the Redwall series, can't recommend it highly enough.
Redwall,
Wheel of Time, the Stormlight Archives, the King Killer Chronicles, anything by Raymond E. Feist, anything.
Feist is a god. I mean, it's a crime that no one knows who he is, including me. I was hating my life because I didn't know who he was.
I was really surprised you did not know who he. I was actually stunned.
I know. I don't know how. And I definitely had the finger of judgment upon me but it was just like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And it just must have missed me or something. But now that I have, what's so exciting is I'm right now in the dead center of, I've read about 15 books so far. And I
R.A. Salvatore is another great author.
Oh my gosh, R.A. Salvatore's a god too. But so I'm in the midst of something that is for the first time. I'm getting something for the first time. I'm having new content, even though it's like 30 years old.
Yeah, you're discovering these stories. And the thing is, people are like, oh, well, I can just I can do the Cliff's Notes, or I can I can go look on Google and see how the story's in. Yeah, you could, but you're going to be robbing yourself of the joy of discovery and the joy of adventure. And to top it all off, you have no appreciation for what is there. You have no appreciation for the story that is in your hands. And I think that, guys, I don't know how else to really put this, but even 75 years ago, it was uncommon for everybody to read, to be able to read and to be able to write. The fact that you are able to read and you are able to write and you're able to comprehend things is a gift. It is a true gift. And stories are the reward that you have for that gift. Embrace it, accept it, and take it full force, because you don't know. You don't know when you're not going to be able to read again. You might go blind. You might, you might pass away, you might get a head injury and forget how to read. I mean, I know that seems kind of dark, but we're mortal. Our time here is finite. You should, at the very least, find things that help you grow as a human and to help you excel beyond what you thought possible. You shouldn't be looking for the simplest answer, for the most common denominator, for the most base thing. You should be trying to find a way to improve yourself, whether that be through the written word, whether that be through the spoken word, whether that be through dance. I have no idea. I don't know what your calling is, but the idea that you have this ability to read is something that so many of us take for granted. And then I always hear, oh, the classics are boring, the classics are dull, the classics are stupid, the classics are hard. We're reading different books, apparently. A Tale of Two Cities has, oh my God, revenge. It has politics. It has plot, and I mean in-world politics. It has plot. It has love. It has betrayal. It has deceit. It has action. It has adventure. It has suspense. I have no, like, when we read that in 7th grade, it was the first time I'd ever read it, and people were like, oh my God, this book is terrible. And I'm like, are we reading the same book?
Yeah. Count of Monte Cristo is another good one.
Yes, Count of Monte Cristo. There is so much out there, guys.
And here's the other thing that sometimes maybe to a little bit of what you're saying, when maybe people don't know how to read sometimes these books. That's why I've been doing things like the book club. It's like, okay, well, let's read them together then. You know, because there are some books that are kind of tricky to get into at first. And let's help each other out.
But you're never going to get better at it if you don't read more.
Yeah, you got to keep reading.
You have to keep going. And if you need, like, some people prefer the audiobooks because it allows them, like, they're doing chores or they're on a long drive, or so. Audiobooks are fantastic for that. But also, as I said yesterday on Fantasy Tavern, I think is when I said it, Miss Mark, I was unaware that a majority of the population does not have an inner monologue voice.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I was stunned to find that out. And that's why a lot of them, it's so hard for them to read, because it's just dry. Like, they can't, and they have no, they're not envisioning the story. They can't hear the story. They're not narrating to themselves. They have no internal narrator. I was stunned. I could not believe that a majority of people do not have an inner monologue. And I was like, what do you do with yourself? Like, how do you not have one? It just, I can't fathom that. But then
they're not reading, they're not being read to, they're not being sung to.
Yes. It starts young. That's why, just like you said, Miss Martin, expose them young to greatness. Like, let them listen to Tchaikovsky and Mozart and Bach and Beethoven and Chopin, and read to them, do nursery rhymes with them. And then I read to my children every single night. I read every single night to them. And it might only be a chapter or two. It might even just be, like, we always do a couple of Bible verses. But the idea, like, all of my kids love to read. And so it was just mind-blowing to me when even my youngest, who is only 3, loves to pick up their, like, sight, sound, and touch books. And they love to be like, they love to say, like, the letters. They'll be like, A, and then they'll point to the apple and they'll be like, that's an apple, mommy. And I'm like, yep, that's right. So it's just mind-blowing to me that there are people out there that don't have that kind of love for reading. And I think it's because their parents didn't have it. So they were sort of deprived of it. And it's just devastating to hear that, because there's so much there for you to enjoy. Maybe you love languages. There's audiobooks and tons of books on languages and art. It's language arts. It's an art. The structure of sentences, the written word, how certain masculine and feminine forms in Spanish correlate to why they exist the way that they do, why Italian is one of the closest Romance languages to Latin. And it isn't just because Rome is in Italy. There's other reasons for it. And the reason why French and English have so much in common, because it wasn't just the fact that there was battles and you had French going to England and English going to France, and they were conquering each other and they were always at war. That's not the only reason. You had the monks, you had the church, you had the Latin, which was the base that for the church. Latin was literally the language of the church. It still is.
Mm-hmm.
And how that intermingled with English and French more so than, say, Spanish. It's just fascinating to learn these things. And there's so much knowledge and so much adventure and so many stories out there for you to enjoy. You'll never get through all of them. And that is okay, because if you die trying, you're going to die doing something you love, and you're going to not have any regrets because you gave it your all.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll tell you what, some of my little people, my little clientele, we used to love it and ask me, like, at the end of their music class, they'd be like, could you play piano for us, or play, another instrument for them? They used to sit around and love to just sit to let me play a song or to sing them a song, because they're not getting it. Now, and then it just occurred to me that, wow, have these kids ever had the experience of gathering around a piano and just having someone play them a song? And I was happy to do that for them, but it was really magical because these children naturally gravitate toward that, and to sing lullabies to them. They love having lullabies sung to them.
Absolutely. And guys, don't deny your soul that kind of beauty, and don't deny, if you have children, don't deny them that beauty either. Maybe you think you're a terrible singer. I promise your kids are probably still going to love your voice. Or maybe you'd rather just, I don't know, sing, like read a book to them, and maybe make it a little bit more lyrical.
Lyrical.
There's
there, yeah.
Lyrical.
One
of those words.
Let's rewrite it. Let's have a limerick.
10:30 at night. I am fading. My grasp on the English language is slipping with my exhaustion level.
Well, I'll tell you what, and especially what you said about whether or not you have a good voice or not, especially with little children. They don't care. They just care that you're with them and that you're showing them you love them, and they just love the soft voice. The whole being embarrassed and critical and all that stuff, that happens when they get to be teenagers and stuff. But when they're young, they love it, and they love being read to. I used to be read to. I remember that, and I have a lot of fond memories.
Yeah. And guys, these are moments that you're never going to get back. You're never going to regret reading to your kids. You're never going to regret singing them lullabies. You're never going to regret spending time with them. And you're never going to regret. I mean, I'm not saying that you're never going to pick up books that you don't like. That's not what I'm saying. You're going to pick up books and you'll be like, well, that was not good. I've done it. I've read many books that I was like, meh, nope, didn't like that. But now you know that you don't like that. Now you know that that's not what you want, and now you're going to go possibly look for something that is less similar to that and more similar to things that you have already fallen in love with.
Yeah, and oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Oh, I was just going to say, and to bring it full circle, like just looking at these, there's a reason why we are so naturally drawn to the Lord of the Rings. We're so drawn to these stories because it maybe speaks to that innocence and wonder of our childhood that left us. And Tolkien himself even said, as he was writing the sequel, because of course The Hobbit was more for children, he said this story is becoming less juvenile. He said it's becoming unjuvenile because it grew up. This is our fairy tale for us grown-ups. And so that's why naturally we love it, and why naturally we are recoiling from the garbage of it.
Well, it hurts. Like
it does.
You're gonna naturally recoil from things that you're gonna naturally recoil from things that hurt, that are harmful, that cause you pain. And the thing is, like, because this isn't a good pain. This isn't a growing pain. This isn't a pain that's gonna make you stronger. This is like someone is reaching into your very chest cavity and ripping your heart out and stomping on it in front of you, and then telling you that you have to accept it and be respectful of them stomping on your heart. And then they slam it back into your chest and staple the skin over it, so they've just left this open, wounded, gaping cavity, and then poured a bunch of salt and lemon juice on it. That is essentially what they are doing. And of course you're going to recoil from that, because nobody wants to go through that ever, let alone multiple times, which is what they have been doing to our mythos. And it has to stop, guys. And there's nobody's going to fight this battle for you. Nobody's going to fight this battle for us. We do not have the time that Jesus had with Moses, where he was able to reveal to him the truth in Egypt and then let him hang out in the desert for months and learn how to be a shepherd so he could go back and shepherd the people. We don't have years. We've got weeks. At best, we have a few months, because this is where we're like, they're not going to stop. They're going to keep coming. We are not in formation. We are not synchronized. We are not battle ready.
Nope.
You're out of time.
Yeah, not quite though. Not quite.
Almost.
Because I've been telling people, if you haven't read The Lord of the Rings, you can read him now. You start with The Hobbit if you want to, I guess, or start with Lord of the Rings. You can still do it in time. Read these books before they show up, or start reading The Wheel of Time. Same idea. So that season 2 is coming up, but you can be ready. You can be ready for this, and they're about ready to butcher Raymond Feist things. I did a video on my channel, and it slipped under the radar. I didn't see much people talking about it, maybe because it's so far out. But that the people from the story group from Star Wars, or the X story group, and Solo, the writer of Solo, they're going to.
I'm sorry, what? It's the writer from Solo? I did not know that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think if you watch my channel, I did it. It's the guy Stephen Federer and the chick who's writing the Obi-Wan.
Oh no.
Yeah, and so, but we've got time because it's still in development. So go and start reading them now. That's one thing we can do. I mean, you're right about us kind of being out of time because it's already been made, but. Prep for battle.
This is the 11th hour, and we're calling up you
guys. Calling up the cavalry. We still have time, so that when it hits, you will know what's hitting you, and you can talk about it, and then you can share on Twitter, like, oh look, here is the good.
And to be able to see exactly what they are doing, so that you can hopefully call it out as it happens to whatever it is that's coming. I have said this multiple times, when I did when Wheel of Time hit, guys, I have been the exact, I said it at the beginning, the exact formula that they used for Wheel of Time, they are using for Lord of the Ring. They're for their freaking trop. Okay, they have
for their trollops.
This is nothing. They took Robert Jordan's work and they slapped their own covers on the books. It's got Rosamund Pike on the cover of one of them, and I don't know how else to put, I'm watching, it's the exact same thing happening again with Lord of the Rings. Okay. Yeah. And I'll show you guys really quick
all this has happened before, it's happening again.
It's happening again. Here is it's just the poster, guys, from their Waygate. This is their hold on.
I'm sorry. What the hell is that?
I made everything disappear. Hang on.
The wheel.
I boomered the ever loving out of that. But look, guys,
Kathy and Heathcliff, maybe. I don't know.
This is everything. This is the book cover. This is one of the new book covers for Wheel of Time for the Eye of the World. That's it. The Amazon is following literally. Where did it go? There it is. Amazon is doing to Lord of the Rings what they have already done to Wheel of Time, and it is going to continue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to stop until we stop it. Yeah. There's no other way to put this. We are the ones that have to say enough is enough. We are the paying customer. You have not fulfilled your fiduciary responsibility. You have failed in what you have set out to do. Our investment of time, of money, of everything else that we have invested into these. The reason that you are even aware of these projects is because of the fandom that has built it into what it is. And you are not respecting them. You are not fulfilling your fiduciary responsibility to the fans, to the investors. You have failed. And as a business, that's one of the worst things that you can possibly hear, is that you are not meeting what is necessary or what is required of you, especially from investors.
Exactly. Well, and not only that, these people are very prideful, and they tried to create like a fake fan backlash. Like literally, we knew they were fake fans, but these super fans. So they said, we want people to worship our work, so let's go and create them. You know, they scripted them. They are bought and paid for. I'm like, how pathetic is that? Because maybe they know they're not going to get it from us. And Disparu has been doing a lot of good work exposing the fake fans and how scripted and choreographed it is across like all the different countries. Like they bring in the German people, and then they bring in people, the French and all that, and of course the notorious English one. The fact that they have to play make believe to get people to like it shows that
it's
they're on very shifty sand.
Yeah, it's sleight of hand. They're literally trying to say, like, look over here, while they are attempting to pass off all of this garbage as the genuine thing and think that we're not going to notice.
Exactly.
Here's super fans who've never read the books or has only read one of the books, or they're just excited about it because it is the newest thing. Like it's just.
Yeah, but it's scripted. That's just the thing. I mean, I'm just trying to imagine. I have this great piece of music, or I think it's a great piece of music, and I have such a lack of confidence in it that I like take a bunch of kids and pay them $10 to cheer and clap. You know,
well,
it's like, that's what it's like.
And people are like, "Oh, well, it's a marketing gimmick. Everybody does it." No, everybody does not do it. No, and
they didn't do that for the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Jackson one.
Nope. And I don't know how to. Whoa. Sorry. I don't know how to get people to recognize this anymore than what I've already said, but I'm going to continue to say it until like my mouth runs dry and I can no longer speak, if that's what it's going to take. Because the idea that I just have to sit here and accept Amazon Prime washing everything and sterilizing it until it reflects them and not the fans and not the authors and not the heart and soul of the story that has reached hundreds of millions of people is absolutely asinine, and I refuse to do it. I'm not going to sit here and lie through omission to make you feel better. And on that note, Lady T for $10. I don't know if I read this or not, but I don't think I did.
No.
Tell everyone what a wealth of entertainment is out there, not this trash they're trying to feed us. Exactly, Lady Tariel. There's so much out there waiting to be discovered and waiting for you to enjoy and waiting for you to fall in love with. Guys, go find it. It's waiting for you.
And speaking of comparing and contrasting, how I was saying that it seems like they're trying to hide as much as they can about the plot and the details of this show. Compare that to the Fellowship of the Ring, like the lead up to the Fellowship of the Ring. They couldn't wait to share with us what they were doing. And they couldn't wait. They
didn't, and they didn't only show us, like a trailer. They showed us behind the scenes. We got to talk, like they showed us clips of the cast, of the crew, of the miniature. I remember seeing the miniature, and like calling the Minas Tirith miniature a miniature feels dishonest because it was really just a scaled down mountain.
Didn't they call it a bigature?
I think they did. I think it was a bigature because that thing, like, it was just an amazing feat. And you know, that's the thing with stuff like that's one of the reasons why I love 40K. It's Warhammer, by the way, Warhammer 40K. It like you get to express yourself through first of all, whoever you want to align yourself with, whatever side you want to be on, and then you get to create your little armies. You get to paint them. You get to do. You get to make it as grand or as small as you want, and you get to have these sort of things. And that's the same, like when it comes to statuettes, especially ones that you get to take part in creating, where they come to you and they're just a white canvas, because not all, I don't know about you, but I do not currently possess the talent, nor do I think I ever will, to make anything, a statuette, look that good ever. But paint it, I can do that. And were my first several very sloppy and bad? Absolutely they were. But I've gotten better at it, and it's become more enjoyable, and it's an expression of me. And I love it so much. I love taking time to really get to just sort of zen out, and I'm still creating something. That's the thing. Like, it's not like I'm just sitting there and I'm wasting away in sedentary. I'm still actively creating something, and I'm pouring my passion and my heart and my soul into it. And then when I come out the other side, I have something to look back on and be like, I did that, like with my hand. Like, that's why I love gardening. I love cultivating that kind of life, and teaching my kids how to tell the difference between weeds and plants and flowers, and why we can't allow weeds to fester in our garden. There's another perfect analogy. Weed the garden, people. Get all them weeds out of there. We don't want them. They will choke out the garden and kill everything there. All the beauty will be gone because the weeds have choked it out. So just for, if there's anything that you're unsure of, or you're like worried that it's going to be, you're going to get laughed at, or you're going to get mocked, guys, don't let it bother you. That person, whoever it is that's mocking you, is going to be one of three things. They're either a person who is so miserable that the only way that they can even think that they find a semblance of joy, and I'm using air quotes for that, is causing other people public humiliation or misery. Two, that person is secretly probably a big fan of whatever it is you're doing as well, or something in that same vein, but so that they don't get mocked and belittled and teased, they're going to just do it to you first, so that the spotlight's on you, and then they get left alone. That's called a hypocrite. And then the third one is people who are genuinely just like broken. They're not worth your time. They're not worth your effort, and they're never going to change their opinion. So you should not, if they are not willing to actually meet you halfway about something that you are genuinely passionate about, and something you care about, and something you love, you don't need that person.
No.
You don't need their approval. You should never, again, my grandpa, you should not ever go out seeking someone else's disapproval, but never be afraid of it.
Yeah. And another thing I say about people that resort to mockery, the easiest way to show that you do not have a point, that your point has no merit, is mockery. With very, very few exceptions, mockery is a sign of your own insecurity.
Yep.
Yeah. Like occasionally, sometimes mockery has its place when you're dealing with public figures, like politicians. That actually, sometimes mockery is very appropriate. But in general, no, it's a sign of a weak soul. And it's a sign of actually your own insecurity.
Yep. And and guys, you know what? You're going to come out the other end, and you'll probably be stronger for it. That's like, you don't get stronger you don't get stronger without adversity. Like, that's just, it's really that simple. If everything goes your way and you're never out of your comfort zone and you never have any adversity and everything goes your way, when stuff finally does hit the fan, you're not going to have the experience, the skill, or the mechanisms to deal with whatever is going on, to overcome whatever obstacle has been put in your way. So these people who are screaming for safe spaces and are screaming to be 100% accepted and to not have their views challenged, it's because they have no idea how to handle any form of adversity. They don't know. They can't possibly, like, simply because you have been exposed to a new idea does not mean that you have to believe that new idea. It doesn't mean that you have to alter your current beliefs because of that new idea. It might widen your scope, it may widen your knowledge base, and it may open your eyes a little bit more. But for, like, someone came up to me the other day and they were like, well, did you know that the Catholics have a different 10 commandments than the other Christians? And it's the false 10 commandments that the Catholic Church teaches because the Catholic Church is, like, greedy or whatever. And I looked at them and I was like, who told you that? And they were like, oh, well, I read it from this atheist. And I'm like, okay, so someone who doesn't have any faith, who does not believe, and who is actively seeking to destroy the church, you thought that was a good source to go to for information about the Catholic Church. I'm not saying that the people in the I'm not saying that it's perfect. God's perfect, but I forget who said it, but the quote goes, if there was any proof that the Catholic Church is in fact a divine creation, it's the fact that it's still thriving when it has been mismanaged by human beings.
Well, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Well, the whole thing is the whole wheat and the weeds. We're gonna have wheat and we're gonna have weeds, and the fact that we have been able to survive. And you can say a lot of things maybe about the faith, but our devotion to the 10 commandments is not our weakness. you can talk about some things, but no,
I thought that was one of the most bizarre approaches that you could have possibly taken. I've heard some doozies, but that one was particularly I literally, like, turned my head and was like, come again, what? But yeah, there's so much out here to love and explore and enjoy. And I'm not saying you have to become a subject matter expert. I'm not saying that you even have to, like I said, you don't even have to be good at it, but you have to be willing to go out and search and grow, because you don't grow in your comfort zones, and you will never learn how to be a stronger, better person or to stand for your convictions if you don't know how to handle any kind of adversity.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. No one ever died from a debate, from a discussion. There's no idea that is too frightening that it cannot be discussed.
And bad idea. Here's the thing. The bad ideas, when they're brought out into the light, they usually, you have a good night, ladies. We're almost done anyway.
Good night.
But the bad ideas, they'll weed themselves out. Like, there's only so much propping up and lying you can do about an idea. So I say, just bring that sucker out into the light, let us shine it on there, and then you can see what a farce it is. Well, bad ideas. Go ahead.
Elon Musk put out the sunlight's the best disinfectant.
There you go. Sunlight's the best disinfectant. Do it.
He's one of the best trolls, I think, in the history of humanity. He's the kind of troll I would be if I had that many billions of dollars. I'd buy an island though, and I'd buy YouTube.
Oh, somebody needs to. I can't. My pockets ain't that deep. I am also living paycheck to paycheck, but
I definitely don't have FU money for sure.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? Well, I think we've had a pretty solid discussion. Good time. I would say, so I'm going to share, hang on, let me put that back up. One more time, I'm going to put in the chat the link to the christianbook.com. But again, guys, go to your local bookstores, go to the library, like go find these places. You'll be surprised what your library gives away.
Oh, hell, yeah.
Mm-hmm. They give away, like, I mean, libraries are only so big, and they do have to rotate and make room. So there's all of these resources available to you: local bookstores, eBay, christianbook.com, your library, friends, reach
garage
out that
sales.
way. Garage
Find yourself
sales.
an estate sale. Those are the
Yes,
best.
estate sales have some fantastic stuff. But there's going to be something. You'll be amazed at some of the treasures you find. So go seek, find, and like I said, I can't tell you what to do with your money, and that's not my place. I'm not in charge of your budget. But I am telling you that if you want this to end, if you want to let Amazon know that they are not going to get away with this, if you want to let them know that this is abhorrent and you vehemently reject it, take the opportunity that they have. This is an opportunity, guys. Take the opportunity that they have presented us with and slap them over the head with it. Let them know how wrong they are in every possible way that they allow us to. This is another one. So that is the alternative that I am presenting to you. So give these a look. Get your physical media. Find the stories. Enjoy them. They are worth it. I promise. There's so much out there. You're never going to be able to read it all. You're never going to be able to watch it all. You're never going to be able to listen to it all. And that's okay, because if you die trying, you are going to die in a wealth of joy and knowledge and adventure and ideas. And you're going to get to share that passion with other people that you love. So, Miss Martin, why don't you let everybody know where you're at, where they can find you, and what you're up to?
Well, you can find me here at Miss Martin Muses, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, and what really ticks me off. See what's coming up. I'm every Saturday at 11 a.m. Central. We are going chapter by chapter through the Silmarillion, and we're like on chapter 11, I think, or something. But catch up with us if you want to. Or I do have a playlist where I have all of our book discussions and the Tolkien content, so you can give that a look and go at your own pace. Next week, the triple review is going to return with my friend Maury and Eddie. We're going to actually go through each one of the Indiana Jones movie. Okay, the first three, the trilogy ones. We're going to triple review Indiana Jones. We've got a lot of stuff going on in our lives, and so we said, let's just go back to have some nostalgia. Now, we've also talked about that on the Fantasy Tavern. But this is going to be the format's just slightly different for the triple review, where we take 20 minutes to just laser in on each one and go through that. And then the double pick might be returning. It depends on what my life looks like next week. So it's been one hell of a journey, but thank you. Amen. You can find me on Twitter, Teresa2_Martin, and you'll most likely find me reading a book, but not live. It's like I'm not one of. Should I be? There you go. Put a cam on me. It's like, look at me read. It's very exciting.
Watch me read. I love it. We should do it. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. This was, I think, an excellent discussion, guys. I'm not. I know that I'm only human, and I'm not a big deal. I get that, but I was telling Miss Martin right before the stream that if you have something that you want to say, if you have something you're passionate about, just say it. And your people will find you, but you have to be willing to actually say it out loud. And I don't know, I think at one point we had like 40 people watching this stream, which is amazing. I appreciate every single one of you. Yay. You guys are all incredible. The chat makes this happen. And I know I didn't highlight you guys as much as I usually do, but I kind of was on just like a tirade tonight. I'm really sorry about that. But you guys in the chat, you make it worth it. You make all of this possible. And you are the foundation for what Amazon and other mainstream media outlets have forgotten, they wouldn't exist without you. I wouldn't be here without, I mean, I could be talking, but I would essentially be talking to no one. The fact that you're here and you're willing to spend your precious time and donate some of you donate money, which is just incredible. I can't thank you enough for that. The fact that you think that I'm even worth that much is truly humbling.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you what the future is going to hold. I don't know, but I do know that I appreciate every single one of you for exactly who you are and for being here and for being part of these discussions. It matters to me more than I can put into words. And thank you so much for everything that you do.
Yeah. I'd just like to tip the hat to the chat too. That y'all were on fire as well tonight.
Yes.
It was great.
Absolutely. So, guys, I'm here for you. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing as much as I possibly can. I appreciate every single one of you. You're all amazing. The fact that you're willing to put up with me says a whole heck of a lot about just how great you are. But thank you so much. I hope you all have a fantastic evening. I've got Nostalgic Nirvana tomorrow, and we're covering Sinbad. It's animation month. So last week was Prince of Egypt, and this week is Sinbad. So we're in for, I think, if you've not seen it, I think you guys are in for a big treat. And then I'm going to try and make Miss Martin's 11 a.m. Silmarillion discussion. It's just Saturday mornings are hard for me.
I understand. You got the little people.
Yeah, the little people and the garden and the homestead, and then I have to go help some on my buddy's farm. There's a lot going on. I do though, but
yeah.
Truly an honor to be able to talk to you guys. Oh, sorry. It's just truly.
No, I thought I'd lost you. It's like, no,
you're good.
Back.
You're good. It's just it's just truly an honor to be able to talk with you guys and to be here. And I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you all have a great night. Take it easy, but maybe not too easy. And just remember, you are not forced to consume the stuff that they are currently producing. So go out, find what you love, find your passion, and just run with it. You don't have to be good at it, but if you love it, the rest will come, and people are going to notice the transformation in you, and so will you. So God bless, Godspeed. Thank you so much for coming. Mwah. Take care, everyone.
Good night.